Hey guys, Joe here. So in this video, I want to talk about subs versus owners. Okay. So before I even say why I think subs are the way to go, I want to say how for the first 5 years of my business, I thought subs were the worst possible choice I could make for the business, right? And basically what happened is first 5 years using our employees, things like that, COVID came along and we were so busy, it was crazy. And then on top of being busy, we also had issues with employees, right? So they were taking longer, there was these issues, not showing up, those kinds of things. And so I'm talking to my buddy down in Florida, and he's like, how's everything going? I'm like, honestly, it's really bad. We're like 10 and 12 weeks booked out, where we're normally 2 and 3, and we're having these issues. I feel like I'm babysitting, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, hire some subs. And I'm like, no. I said, they're going to steal my business, or steal work from us. They're not going to do the same quality work. The customers aren't going to like them, all those things. So a few weeks later goes by and we're talking again. He's like, how's everything going? I'm like, it's worse. Now we're like 12 and 14 weeks out and blah, blah, blah. He's like, hire subs. I'm like, no, I'm not hiring subs. I don't want them. The quality control, all this kind of stuff. A few more weeks, how's everything going? And I'm like, it's horrible. At that point, I think we were like 14 or 16 weeks booked out. And he's like, just hire subs. And I'm like, you know what, screw it. Like, just to shut you up, I will hire a sub, just to see what happens, right? So I posted an ad on Facebook. They don't have hiring ads now, but it's easy to find subs within different the contractor groups and just posting online, things like that. And so anyway, I had a few people reply, and I went out and took each of them to lunch. There was like 2 or 3 guys. And the 2 were okay, and then the one we actually connected really well, right? And so what was the change like? Number one, it was like immediate change, where basically the jobs were getting done, where just say, for fencing, if we had like a 25 post job that used to take like a day and a half, like it was getting done in a day with the subs, whereas the crews were now taking like 2, there were sometimes 3 days and stuff like that. So the time to get the jobs done was way quicker, just way quicker. The other thing is that the subcontractor that I end up linking up with, he had the ability, because he had like landscaping, he had these other things going on, but he wanted to keep his guys busy all the time. So he had the ability, like if we had smaller jobs that was, 20, 25 posts, he would send like 3 guys. But then we'd have these jobs that were like 50 posts, 60 posts, things like that. He would end up being able to send like 5 guys, sometimes 6 guys to a job site at a time. And so a job that normally would end up taking, probably 3, 4, 5 days sometimes, it was getting done in a day. And what was happening is our profitability per day was like increasing by crazy amounts. Back then we were probably charging somewhere, about trying to make about $1,500 a day. Eventually we kept on increasing that number up, but we would go from making like $1,500 a day with all kinds of issues and everything else to using a sub. And now there was days where we're making like $4,000 and $5,000. And it was crazy. So then what happened is our schedule went from like 12, 14 weeks to like 3 and 4, like quickly, right? And then it dropped even quicker to that to like, 2 weeks. And what I realized after a while is that there's 3 types of people, right? You have employees, you have subs, you have owners, okay? What is the difference between an employee and a sub is basically a subcontractor. It wants to be, more, they want to make more money, and they want to have some of the freedoms of owning a business, but they don't want all of those freedoms, right? Or, the issues that come with it. So like when you go to hire a subcontractor, and just say you start getting really busy and you need another crew. Well, now you don't need to figure out, like, I need to get the truck, I need to get the trailer, I need to get the equipment, I gotta hire the people, I gotta get them trained, now I got like 2 crews I gotta babysit instead of just 1. It's not like that. What ends up happening is they have all that stuff. Typically we go after the guys that also have workman's comp. And what happens is that now when we would quote a job, and if we thought it was gonna be taking a day with the employees, but it turned into 2, well, it meant that we were making several $100s less than we thought we were going to make, right? And so, but with the subs, even if it took longer, it didn't really matter because the rate that we paid was the rate that we paid, right? So if we agreed on $40 a post or whatever, and it's 20 posts and, one gate, so typically they would charge 50 to $100 for that. And so we'd basically be $80 for, or $800 for the post and about $100 for the gate. So like $900. But I knew when I priced the job that if the materials were 3,000 and the labor was 900, like that's what was going to happen, right? And what I found, again, going back to employees versus subs and things like that, is the subcontractors, like I said, they want to make more money. They want to be a little bit more, have a little bit more freedom, but they don't want to be a full-on business. They don't want to answer the phone calls. They don't want to go out to the quotes. They don't want to do emails. They don't want to do all the installations and then come home and have to do all the other paperwork and crap that we're used to dealing with, right? And they just want to go out and install, and that's it. So I'm not saying that they're not going to take work. It's definitely going to happen, right? Same thing with your employees. Like there's been times where, and it happened to me, and that's how we kind of spring-loaded into this company, is that, I had the employees I was having issues with, at the time, they were struggling financially. They wanted to make more money, and I said, look, you're already at the top end of the pay scale. Like, for what I was paying compared to anyone else, like, we were already paying much more than any other company out there. And so I said, like, you can become a sub if you'd like. And so they were working towards that, but before that even happened, there was a customer that called and says, hey, they, just want to give you a heads up, but like we had this small little extra job we wanted to be doing, and they were trying to take the work from you, right? And so it's, as far as taking work, it's going to happen with employees and it's going to happen with subcontractors as well. But the relationship we built with the subcontractor is, again, they didn't want to do any of the crap. They'd rather just have reliable work, and they were afraid that if we end up finding out that they were taking work, that they wouldn't have us anymore. Because what we found with a lot of subcontractors with dealing with other companies is that these other companies, their communication's not good. They don't pay when they're supposed to. They don't have the materials show up when they're supposed to. They're not organized. And so what happens is they want to work, just like an employee, they want to work with someone that's very consistent. So if you can offer that, they'd much rather work for you than for someone else, right? And that's why I like it so much better, because it ends up becoming more of a partnership than anything else, where, it's just really nice to be able to, it's more or less like it's opening the floodgates, where like you have all these leads coming in, right? Or I should go back. So when I hire someone as an employee, I feel personally responsible, not just for them, but I also feel personally responsible for everyone else that relies on them. So, for the one guy I have here, just as an example for Miguel, it's not just Miguel that I hired, right? It's Miguel, his wife, and his 3 kids. That's who that's who I'm employing, more or less, right? Obviously, they're not working for me as well. But at the end of the day, I have to make sure there's enough work for them and everything else. And if not, I'm personally responsible. That's how I personally look at it, right? And whereas with subcontractors, you bring them on as needed, and then you have your own crews, or you just don't have as many subs working as you would before, right? On the slow seasons. Or maybe they used to end up, maybe they were, working for, just you during the peak season. But then in the off season, it's like, hey, just to let you know, we're starting to slow up. You might want to try getting work from some of these other guys. And is there a chance that they might leave and not come back? Yeah. But the chances of them doing that are very slim if, again, you pay well, you actually communicate, you actually have the materials there, and you basically just have a nice, well-ran company. It's that simple. And so going back, again, if I were to do this all over again. So again, I had the fence company for 7 years before we sold and we started supplying. First 5 years was with employees. The last 2 was with subs. I wish I started with subs in the very beginning, because it would have made life so much easier, just from a pricing standpoint, to where that when you price a job, that's what it's actually going to cost you. Because there were so many times that, I thought I was going to make $1,000, especially in the beginning, when I'm not charging enough and things like that. you think you're going to make $1,000 and it's going to take you 2 days. So you're like, all right, I'm making $500 a day. Good. But then there's always those issues and things that come up. So then instead of taking 2 days, now it's taking 3 days. And instead of making $1,000 total in profit, now it's only like $800 in profit. So what that means is you went from like $1,000 and $500 a day to now 800 and to 3 days. So you're only making, $275, right? So basically, you cut how much you were making in half every day, plus all the issues and everything else. So, you have that structure. And again, you build those relationships, and that's where you have like this network of subs that we have built, because at the end of the day, you got to realize that, again, will they take some work? It's definitely possible. But at the end of the day, most of them they crave, again, they want some freedom, but they don't want all the freedom. Because, you and I know, if you own a business, you are one of the few people that that are willing to basically burn the ships and not have any kind of lifeline. Everything's relying upon you. So again, if you are thinking about adding an additional line of business, if you are currently having issues with your current staff, if you are tired of pricing jobs but never know exactly what you're going to make, if you're tired of having all these vehicles and things and pre-planning for the extra crews before you hire someone, if you are tired of struggling to keep your guys busy in the winter and hoping that they don't leave to go for somewhere else, if you're tired of all that, try a sub. Again, I wish I had started it this way sooner, because in the beginning I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And if I would have had some crews that I could easily rely on, there's no telling what I could have made. It would have made a huge difference. So that's about it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Just I try to say, like, I'm here for you guys however I can be. Now, it may get busy and things like that. So if you have a question, you can either put it in the comments. You can also do an email. You can send it to my personal email. So it's just jmigrala@gmail.com. It's just my first initial last name. I will try to answer as quickly as I possibly can. And I hope you guys have an awesome day, and hopefully you have a great 2024 or whatever year you end up having to watch this. All right, see ya. Thanks.